confines with a monarch's voice cry havoc! And let slip the dogs of war. Thanks to my city steps, you insult my queen. You threaten my people with slavery and death. Oh, I've chosen my words carefully, Persian. Perhaps you should have done the same.
This is blasphemy. This is madness.
Madness. This is Sparta!
They painted over ants.
Welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast. This is going to be a bit of an abbreviated version of the podcast before we head into the 4th of July. I can tell you, Russ, it is the 2nd of July, and I am happy to welcome Pride Month, as in American Pride Month. Independence Day is coming up in 2 days. Go fuck yourself, June. I will punch you in whatever genitalia that you claim to have and get you the hell out of my life. I think it's about time we take that month back. But I'm happy when July rolls around because we don't have to put up with any more of that fucking bullshit. This is the post-debate episode that we promised everybody. And how you doing out there in the wilds of Tennessee, Russ?
Good. First of all, this is we could call this the start of Independence Day because for those who don't know, July 2nd was when the Continental Congress actually voted for independence, and it wasn't until July 4th that the Declaration was adopted. So this is when it kind of began. I am glad that now, in fairness, now maybe it was different where you were. The month of June stuff was very muted around where I am. I didn't see too much of it. I didn't see too much of it on TV or online. It's almost like some corporations got a little bit of the hint. I don't know if you saw what happened at Tractor Supply Company. Did you have to see
I
that?
didn't. I go to Tractor Supply Company. It's a favorite of mine. I buy my dog food there.
Okay, well, it had gotten outed as its CEO was giving money to HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah. Oh, it gets good. It gets good. Hang on.
Tractor Supply Company?
Oh yeah,
That's
they had like a DEI advisory board and everything. Who was it? I'd have to look it up. One of the more prominent guys on X out of the company and caused such a backlash that they issued a letter of apology basically and said, we've dissolved our DEI board and we're not going to be given the Human Rights Campaign anymore. Basically, it's the first time I've seen a company that went prideful fully back down.
I'm really surprised they went there in the first place because I can tell you, I live in as you know, a very rural community. Farmers and loggers out here, and Tractor Supply Company is a beloved company out here.
Well,
that's one of the things too.
The backlash they got, they remembered who their customer base was.
Yeah,
and it's not hip liberals in New York.
No, I mean the only brand they carry there for clothes is Carhartt, I believe, and I go there to buy dog food mainly, and I mean, but it's a cool store. It's just
you need to Google it online. Google Tractor Supply Company DEI letter. And
I'm really actually kind of surprised about that because their base is and I'm just gonna say it is white conservative Christians basically. Yes. Their base. Yeah, so that's almost like Chick-fil-A doing something like that to me. It's just like, that actually surprises me. Did they make a mistake and do a DEI hire to try to be whatever? Because if you go into one of those stores, it's exactly what you think it would be. Tractor Supply.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, talking about how Tractor Supply decided to end DEI and asked Tractor Supply vows to cut DEI roles under pressure, sparking outcry.
I'm really shocked they even had one of those to begin with, to be honest with you, because yeah, you go in there and okay, I look like I do, but when I go in there, people look far more to the right than I do. I'm just going to put it to you that way.
Yeah,
most of the people shopping in there, not that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've never gone in there and never seen a Ku Klux Klan rally or something like that. But I'm just saying, these are typically your white conservative Christians that shop there. You know, farm folk. So anyway, that's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, I got to find out who it was. It's killing me. But it was shit. Hang on, let me see if I can find this real quick.
Oh, by the way, I didn't consider this
Oh,
episode.
Robbie Starbuck.
Okay, I did not consider this episode 86 because this is kind of a quick addendum to do it. So we'll take that
Yeah,
back
I'm sure
up.
because we're always quick.
Yeah, we'll take that up in our next full episode. We'll go back to the review. We'll go 1986 for episode 86. We're not going to do that for this one. And then I will be rolling out the classic 4th of July video for YouTube again. I had to I think I told you on a text that it was demonetized and
Yeah.
partially banned because of like Stars and Stripes Forever or something. I don't even know what it was. I don't even know what got us in trouble, but it was ridiculous. So I had to edit that stuff out to do it again. But we'll put it back up there. It's got some really cool stuff, and I encourage you guys all to go onto our YouTube channel to check out our 4th of July. Got some fireworks and some good music and some John Wayne tribute and some good shit going on over there.
Yeah, so just real quick on the last thing on Tractor Supply, after they put Robbie Starbuck, exposed him, and they sent out a letter said, "We've heard from our customers that we have disappointed them. We have taken this feedback to heart. The company will no longer submit data to the Human Rights Campaign. It will halt sponsorship of pride festivals and voting campaigns, eliminate DEI roles, and withdraw from carbon emission goals to focus on land and water conservation." Basically, listen to its customer base.
Sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
Yep.
God forbid you should actually try to please your customers, unlike Disney and the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get into the meat of it. I was just watching some Piers Morgan and all this fallout from the debate. You and I put a podcast out just literally minutes before the debate. I was not prepared for how badly that went. I thought Trump was going to put was going to fist Joe Biden. I did. Because we've all seen Joe Biden declining, and Joe Biden back in the day could throw an argument around. He could, he had some words came out of his mouth, even if they were complete lies and slander. They came out of his mouth from that very first moment. And I texted you right at the opening statements. I'm like, oh, he's cooked. He's cooked.
Oh, yeah. Well, so much about first of all, the bar was already pretty low for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And somehow he still failed to meet it. I think one of the funniest things about the debate was that they set all these rules to supposedly contain Trump, the cutting of the mics, the no audience, all this, and it actually helped him. He wasn't able to play the comedian to the crowd. He didn't come off as, trying to interrupt Joe. Joe tried to interrupt him a few times. And I mean, this was a restrained Trump. If this guy continues to the election, he wins in a walk.
Yeah, I agree.
Joe Biden, I mean, wow. But he performed about like you and I kind of expected he would. But what I've seen is that most of the horror from the media and the Democrats isn't that Joe Biden declined. It's that you had an open forum to notice it, because they've kept him very controlled. They haven't, they call all the videos cheap fakes. Those are all, Joe Scarborough came out like 3.5 weeks ago and talked about how Joe Biden was on top of his game in meetings and really mentally sharp and controlled all this
Joe
stuff.
Scarborough is one of the dumbest cocksuckers on planet Earth.
Well,
he and his wife can go fucking eat my ass because they're terrible.
It exposed all of it as a complete charade. People could see it in real time. And I did hear an interesting theory on the backstage of Daily Wire that kind of makes sense. Because if you notice, Joe Biden sort of kind of pepped up about halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they didn't give him his uppers medication far enough in advance. They gave it to him too close to the debate, so it didn't have time to kick in.
I would agree with that. It's kind of like when I take my night medication a little bit too soon and I get on a podcast. I mean, it has a profound effect. It has a profound effect. It does. I got to tell you, we don't need to even dissect the debate because there was no debate. There was no debate. It was just there
Well,
was a dementia
one thing to,
patient,
no-
and
one thing to
then
notice real quick, it was how Trump, in a way, he backed off. He almost looked like he was trying to take his foot off the gas because he felt sorry for Joe. You could see it. He didn't pound him as hard as he could have, and he kind of had this look of, "Oh my God, Joe, you're really this bad." I mean, Trump, if that was where Trump was at his best, was so restrained. If he had, because he could have come off as mean and just stomping on the old man, and he was a little bit more restrained. And we did have some comical moments when they were talking about their golf handicaps. I'm like, yeah, this is what we
right,
need out of a leader of
right.
the free world. But Trump Trump was not the bully on stage, and I thought that was just as interesting as Joe being, basically lifeless.
That's the part that really pisses me off is like I'm listening to this and the left is like, okay, so Joe Biden was not, he was down on arrival, but Trump lied and Trump sucked and he didn't debate well. I think Trump debated quite well, actually. Couple of the things that I loved that he threw in there was the line about I don't know what he said at the end of that sentence, and I don't think he knows what he said at the end of that sentence either. That was fucking brilliant. And then when he said I defeated Medicare, which was nonsensical
We beat Medicare.
yeah, we beat Medicare, and then Trump comes back, he goes, yeah, you beat it to death because of all these illegal aliens that you allowed in to be on Medicare. There he had a couple of really outstanding moments. I thought he debated well. I agree with you. I think it's his best debate that I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
Uh
far and
and
away.
and it's kind of funny because I listen, I have a fondness for Ted Cruz. And I was listening to his podcast a couple of days ago, and he's like, I've been on a debate stage against Donald Trump on a dozen occasions. This is by far the best that he's ever done.
Yeah.
And he goes, even his facial expressions, he didn't roll his eyes, he didn't, do any of that kind of,
Sigh.
the fish lips or anything like that. He just kind of listened, and then he didn't do any of that. I mean, he did a little of it, but it was very
But
minimal.
not like you usually did.
Right. And we remember when he trounced the shit out of Hillary Clinton in 2016, which is probably, a more demonstratively better debate moment for him. But this was just like, I was like, holy shit. If this is the Donald Trump that I had seen for the last 8 years, I wouldn't have nearly as much trepidation about him being the candidate as I do have. Um, I think it's disgusting that, like I said in a post on our Facebook group, the Two Grumpy Bastards Facebook group. Come on over, folks. We've gained a few. I've seen we've gone up a little bit. Gone up a lot. Gone up a lot. It's beautiful. But no, we've gone up a little bit. Um, you know, Here's the thing that you need to keep reminding yourself about if you're voting for Trump. And you know, I will never, if one of my friends wants to talk about Trump's faults and all that kind of thing, I'm not going to shy away from that. But here's the
We
thing.
acknowledged them.
Uh, you know, Here's the thing. If you're voting against Trump, you're supporting a party that says murdering babies is healthcare, that mutilating children in the name of mental illness is fine, that you support foreign wars that are out of control. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. You're not the good guys. And that's the delusion among the left, is they actually think they're the good guys and they're not. Am I 100% comfortable with Trump being my candidate and all that kind of thing? Do I wish it was Ron DeSantis that was up on that debate stage last week? Absolutely. Because I believe he's not just a good man, but a great man. And he's a ethically, he's almost impeachable as far as that goes. But the greater good sometimes means that you talk about it a lot. These conservative purists who want everything to be just in one way and all that. Well, this is for the greater good. And the lovely thing about this is like, oh, you got to defeat Donald Trump because it's the end of democracy and it's the end. Really. So one of the things I took out of this is all these people going, well, they didn't fact check Trump at all. He lied. Trump exaggerated like a motherfucker. It's what he does. It's what we've kind of come to accept about him. He exaggerates. He says platitudes. He does. It's because he's a celebrity. That's the way he talks. Joe Biden didn't say a single thing that was accurate that entire night. And I don't hear the left decrying fact-checking Joe Biden. I mean, he probably doesn't know what the truth is anymore, to be quite honest with you, because these disgusting people, including his wife, propping him up, a senile old man in front of the world because of power. You're disgusting human beings. You're not the good people. You're not good people. And you can call shit on my shit all day about voting for Donald Trump, but I'll take that over what you're doing to this poor old man, this senile old piece of shit.
Yeah, well, look, when we talk about lying, I mean there were a ton of lies that came out of Joe Biden's mouth. Everything from unemployment was at 15% when I took office.
Right.
Inflation at 9% when I took office. Here's one that stood out to me. And Tulsi Gabbard on Bill Maher's shows put it right. It was like a gut punch when he said, "No American soldier has died on my watch." I'm like, what the hell, dude? I'm like, all right, the Afghanistan thing alone, we lost 13 soldiers. Dude, you were at the transfer ceremony, checking your watch, but you were still at the Dover transfer ceremony. And you're going to try to claim with us, maybe he doesn't remember, but that one really stood out to me and really pissed me off.
Right.
That he says that nobody, and then you had, was it 3 soldiers in Jordan or Syria that died from Iranian drones? I mean, it's absolutely insane. But the left has to try to rely on Donald Trump's an evil person, because if it comes down to they're even closely similar in character, then Trump wins in a walk, because you can't compare the two's policies. Because look, I am not normally a big fan of retread candidates, somebody who lost before running again. But I got to thinking about this, and most of the retreads, from William Jennings Bryan to Adlai Stevenson to Dino Rossi there in Washington State, they lost the first matchup, and then they lost the second matchup. The only precedent we have for this, where a former president lost for a second term and then ran again, is Grover Cleveland.
Right.
Grover Cleveland versus Benjamin Henry Harrison back in 1892, I think, or 1888.
Yeah, I don't
Cleveland
know.
won in 84, Harrison won in 88, and Cleveland won again in 92. But the difference in the retread candidates with Grover Cleveland and with Trump here is that Trump has been president, just like Cleveland was president. So you've got a Trump presidency, you've got a Biden presidency. You can actually directly compare the two. It's like you say, well, what would Adlai Stevenson have been like if he was president? What would Dino Rossi have been like if he was governor? You can actually say, this is what Trump was president. This is what Biden was president. Now we've got a direct one-to-one comparison.
Right.
So that's how a retread that's actually won may be able to pull it off. And right now, 2 years ago, I never thought I would say this. He's the favorite right now. I mean,
he is.
And I would never have said that 2 years ago.
No, I hear you. I wouldn't have either. That's why, you and I both were on the same page, which, like, we got to replace him with somebody who actually has a viable chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I both supported a guy that I think is arguably the best candidate for president in the country, in my opinion, based on his success rate and all that kind of thing, and personally and all that. But all that being said, I'm 100% behind Trump. I'm actually, we talked about it a little bit off camera, but I'm actually I got a little Schadenfreude going on. I got to be honest. Because I want to continue to see the left have these meltdowns. I want to continue to troll Keith Olbermann and all these fucking idiots over on X who have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, who can't pull their heads out of their asses far enough to go, who actually was better for the country? Who was better for the country? And if you want to compare Joe Biden to Trump ethically, morally, and all that kind of thing, you don't win. You don't win. Because that is the most corrupt family in in America now. I mean, the Kennedys are all dead except for RFK Jr. All those rapists and all, motherfuckers. The Bidens are the most corrupt family in American politics. And you can't say that about the Trumps. You just can't. I mean, his kids are fucking phenomenally successful. They're well adjusted. They're good people. Donald Trump isn't a great guy. I don't think he's a great guy. Like, as far as somebody that I would like emulate. He's probably a cool guy. He's probably somebody that I would hang out with and, you know, whatever. But Biden is fucking completely and totally corrupt in every way, shape, or form. It's obvious. Money from the Chinese, money from the Ukrainians, all this other stuff that's been going on. His son is an addict. That's not my problem with his son. My problem with his son is that he's been the person that's been the spear point of getting money into the family. That's my problem with him. Not that he's an addict and has made mistakes. Yeah, that's fine. That's completely forgivable. But he's been the spearhead on getting that family rich. You know, yeah. I think, my God, what kind of horrible human being are you, Jill Biden, that you prop your husband up, who is feeble and incontinent and a dementia-ridden idiot, in front of the country because you like power? I don't know who's running the show, if it's her or if it's Barack Obama or whatever. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's completely obvious now that everything that we thought worst case scenario is true. He's never been in charge, never will be in charge. It's probably Barack Obama. You know, it's I don't know. I don't know, Russ, what your thoughts are on that.
So a couple things. First of all, it's Edith Wilson reincarnated. For those who don't know, Woodrow Wilson had a massive stroke,
right,
in somewhere around 1919, 1920. But there was no 25th Amendment. There was no TV. There was no internet. And so Edith Wilson, his wife, who he met during his second term and married, basically ran the country to the point where she held his hand and had him sign legislation or veto legislation. So, you know, that she is the reincarnation of that. Let's not forget, you know, she's not Joe Biden's first wife. Joe Biden's first wife, and I don't know if it's a son or daughter, but a child of Biden's, they died in a car accident in like 1974-ish.
Yeah, it was early 1970s. Yeah.
So Jill Biden, you know, I'm always kind of skeptical of folks who marry sitting elected officials. She married a sitting senator. She hitched her wagon to him, expecting that to take off, and it obviously did. Now you mentioned the Schadenfreude. I don't know that I watched more than 5-10 minutes of the roundtable on Fox. I was too busy switching back and forth between CNN and MSNBC and just enjoying the discomfort.
Watching them shit themselves.
Look, it was so, let's put it this way, it was so bad even they couldn't deny it. Because normally the partisans come out and they're always, yeah, my guy won and he did this. And, you know, the media always propped up, you know, Al Gore beat George W. Bush and Barack Obama beat John McCain. Well, this time, you know, Kerry wiped the floor with Bush and all this. This time they couldn't do it. It was so obvious to everybody that even they had to acknowledge it. They were starting to get, you know, their phones were blowing up. Texts from Democrats about how bad it was. Again, I go back to anyone who's been paying attention knew it was this bad. It's just a matter of now everybody else got to see it. And I don't think, and Trump made a very savvy move in accepting the debate, because Joe Biden and his team put so many conditions on it. I don't think they honestly expected Donald Trump to accept the debate. I think that they said, we're going to give all these conditions and Trump is going to try to negotiate for stuff, and we'll say, oh, well, look, we can't debate him now because he's not accepting our conditions. Trump doesn't want to debate. So Trump took them, you know, at their first offer, which, you know, looking back was a genius move, because suddenly it boxed in Biden and they're like, hey, now I guess we're going to have to debate on my terms. And Trump just blew it away. Now, it's interesting. They're scheduled for another debate September 10th. I don't know that that's going to go down.
I can't imagine it is. I can't imagine it is, no.
the only way it would is if it's a complete desperation, desperation toss on Joe Biden's part that they're so far behind. He's got to do something to show that he's up there, otherwise it's foregone conclusion. One of the best comments, though, I saw, and I think I texted you this, was that September 10th, we already have one national disaster around that date. We probably don't need a second one.
Right.
Kamala Harris even tried to say, well, it started slow, but she wasn't like, it was horrible. Obviously, she wouldn't say that because she's the vice president, and especially now, I'd be a little bit careful if I was Joe around old Kamala. She may try to nudge him down the stairs a little bit more rapidly so she can get in there.
She's never going to get the nomination though, because she's that incompetent. She's that incompetent.
Let's talk about some of the panic and the nomination and all.
I do want to transition into that before we get off tonight, because I want to get your predictions on who you think. I don't think I was actually surprised that there wasn't more talk about replacing Joe today in the last 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, after the debate. It sounds like he's kind of holding strong. He had a rally, and he actually sounded halfway decent. He was on the right mix of meds or something like that. I don't know that the Bidens will step down. I don't know that they will.
First of all, I want to go back one last point on the debate. It was interesting. I think it was Axios, although not positive, said, well, Biden's actually really good between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. I'm like, well, that's awesome, because first of all, the presidency is kind of a 24/7 job. And maybe Trump will agree to debate him at 3 in the afternoon. Who knows? But I think Biden is going to be the nominee unless he actually has an actual health issue that physically prevents him. If God forbid, he has a heart attack or a stroke or something. Because by the DNC's own rules, unless Biden decides to step down, they can't remove him right now. He's got the delegates pledged to him. Let's not forget they were going to go to a virtual roll call vote.
You can't transfer campaign money or delegates. You can't do it. There's no mechanism for it.
They're less than 2 months from having to have everybody in. They were going to do a virtual roll call August 7th, I believe, in order to meet the Ohio deadline. Although I don't know if that's necessary any longer, because the governor signed legislation extending their deadline to September 1st. But that's less than 2 months away.
Right.
But you look at it, if had Biden stepped down in, say, January or last December, say he had come out last December or so and say, you know what, I've done what I needed to do, I'm going to step down. He could have come off as the hero to the Democrats, and maybe they could have nominated somebody else, although we'll get into that bench in a second. I think one of the reasons he didn't was because their bench is so thin.
Yeah.
It actually kind of sucks.
No, it really is. It really is
But
thin.
if he steps down now, it's in disgrace. And he ain't going to do that. He has spent his entire life trying to become president of the United States. He's not going to step down now, folks. He is the nominee, whether you like it or not. Now, the things I've heard bandied about, and I wrote down a couple of them, regarding people they want to replace Biden with. Bill Maher on his show. Bill Maher, God bless him. Which show
is this? Which show is this? I probably
time.
No, I know. Was it the most recent one?
Yeah.
I saw it, and I actually enjoy Bill Maher's show. I always have, even when I hate him. So.
Yeah, but look, Bill Maher, he gets the problem exactly right, and he finds the exact wrong solution. Because Bill Maher is pumping up.
Great way to put it. That's a great way to put it.
Bill Maher is pumping up Gavin Newsom. Well, there's several problems with that. First of all, California is a failed state right now, and everybody outside of California knows it.
Most of the people in California know it, my friend, because they're all leaving and going to places like Austin and Tennessee and Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, even Corolla bought property in Nevada.
He finally left. I saw that he finally left California.
Yeah, he's out of there. He bought a big piece of property and developing it in Nevada. That's where he's gonna.
By the way, a side note: do you know what drove Dave Rubin out of California?
Yeah, well, Larry Elder. He campaigned for Larry Elder, and then the IRS came after him.
Yeah, the state audited him like 2 days after the recall
Yeah,
election was
after
over.
the recall election when he was supporting Larry Elder against Gavin Newsom.
Yep.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, that's
but
a coincidence. Roll
yeah,
my eyes.
but so some of these folks are pumping up Gavin Newsom. However, I don't see any way possible for the Democrats to displace Kamala Harris, to displace a black woman in favor of a white man.
Michelle
Two,
Obama.
first of all, I don't think she wants it. I really don't.
I hope she doesn't for her sake because you slept in a bed next to the president. You think you're qualified to be president? That's insane.
Yeah.
That's just fucking insane.
I don't think she.
I
think
wouldn't have
she likes
wanted
the fact-
Nancy Reagan. I wouldn't have wanted Nancy Reagan to be president, dude.
Yeah,
And Reagan was my hero. You
she
know,
likes the trappings of it, but she doesn't like the actual job or the politics of it. She got a nice, cushy life at Martha's Vineyard, and even so,
and
Kamala Harris
she has a dick. And she has a dick. So.
well, Kamala Harris is not going gentle in that good night because Kamala knows if she gets pushed off the ticket, she's done in politics. She has no future
Yeah.
if she gets pushed off.
No, she retires. She has to retire.
Yeah.
She's got nothing.
So, if I don't think they could push her off. James Clyburn, he's the guy that basically got Joe Biden the nomination
right.
by pumping him up in South Carolina, has said you're not going to push Kamala off the ticket in favor of Gavin Newsom. Black women are the most solid pillar of the Democratic coalition.
Yeah.
If they push Kamala Harris off, then they lose black women votes. That's just what happens.
I hear you. To push Kamala off and to replace it with the whitest, most privileged guy in fucking. I mean, he's the Trudeau of America. He is the most pussy ass, whitest, lily white, privileged dude in America. And and by the way, Donald would destroy him.
There's actually a poll out today that shows Trump is up against Kamala, up against Gavin, up against Buttigieg.
Buttigieg is a fucking idiot. He's a fucking idiot.
There was one more that he was up against. I don't remember who off the top of my head, but I don't. People mention Michelle Obama. She's got a certain star appeal quality. Like I said, I don't think she wants it. Kamala Harris would try to fight her behind the scenes. I don't know that she retains the appeal that she thinks she has. And then suddenly she'd find herself governing, and governing is a lot dirtier than campaigning.
Yeah.
She doesn't particularly.
You don't think Barack would do a full court press on her to get her to try to save the country in there? And I put save in air quotes. Come on, guy. Come on. There, Michelle. I think you need to step up. Yeah.
Well,
guy.
but see, you
In
gotta
his
look at another
shirt.
thing.
Yeah.
We know that there is bad blood
Because we
between
hate white people. We hate white people.
We know that there's bad blood between Michelle Obama and Joe Biden. Michelle is not campaigning for Joe. Doesn't like the way Joe treated Hunter's ex-wife, so on and so forth. Do you think Joe would step down in favor of Michelle Obama? I don't. I don't think he's a step down anyway.
No,
But-
I don't. I don't think he would step down. There'd have to be a full court press on him. I honestly think Obama's been running this administration. I think this is Obama's third term. Looking back on it, I really do.
It might be that, and I don't think Obama can push his wife into it. I hate to say this. I think Michelle could win. I don't think she necessarily would, but I think she could. She's still got that shine to her. In terms of what people kind of remember of her.
It's a great idea to elect people's wives into the presidency that are not completely unqualified to do anything ever. That's such a good, just fucking insane. It's fucking insane that we're even talking about this, to be quite honest with you.
Well, it worked well when they tried to get Bill Clinton's wife in there, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
think about the risk she also takes with that if she runs and loses. Imagine the hit to her reputation and her ego if that happens.
Yeah. I hope for her sake. I don't know that she's a bad person. I'm not saying that. I mean, she's married to the biggest race baiter fucking and I think a criminal. I do. Barack Obama in American presidential history. But I don't know that she's a bad person. So for her sake, I hope she fucking just stays out of it. Just stay out of it.
Well,
you know
two
what I mean?
things about Michelle Obama. One negative, one positive. The negative is she is a fairly radical left winger.
She is. I think she's far left winger than her husband.
She is. She's much further to the left than Barack is. On the positive side, and I got to give her props for this. One of the causes she championed when she was first lady, and she started running into this on the campaign trail in 2008, is the cause of military spouses.
Yeah.
She's never really encountered them before. She started running into military spouses with different stories. She became interested, and she started advocating for them. And so, if nothing else, I give her props for recognizing the plight of military spouses and trying to advocate for military spouses when she was first lady. That's absolutely commendable. I have nothing negative to say about that.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And you and I tend to be fair people, and we're not, like I said, I don't know that I dislike her as a human being or anything like that. But what policies? What is her? I mean, she's far left.
She'd be running solely on the fact that she's Michelle Obama. That's it.
Right. And that's disgusting. You don't elect a fucking national leader because you slept next to the president for fucking 8 years. That's insane. That's an insanity to me.
Now, you also got to look at, she might not be, if they did try to put her in there, she might not be openly opposed, but there are people behind the scenes that would try and stab her in the back because they would feel that this is their time. Aside from Kamala, you got Gavin Newsom, and you got Gretchen Whitmer. Gretchen Whitmer wants in as well.
She does.
So does Jamie
Gretchen
Pritzker.
Whitmer's got big dreams. She got pardon me, she's got big eyes.
I think really what it comes down to is which way the Democrats go in 2028. Do they go Whitmer or do they go crazy left? Right now the one that scares is too strong a word, but to me their strongest candidate in 2028 is probably Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania.
I would agree with that. That. But he kind of brings that party out from the left fringe too.
Yeah.
To be fair to him.
So does he have a chance because he's not left enough? He's
not a Bernie Sanders. Moderate. He's not a Bernie Sanders type candidate.
He's a moderate Democrat. If Democrats lose this time, do they lurch even further to the left?
And to be honest with you, as libertarian as I am, and as much as I think DeSantis is the future king, if he was president, I'd have a much better view of the world, to be honest with you, than what we got going on right now, because I don't see the same. Biden dances to the tune of the what are they called? What does Rubin call them? The AOCs and the and all that, the
Bedwetter Brigade. I don't know.
Yeah, the leftist coalition that's actually in charge of the Democratic Party right now, and they've only got a few guys that are pushing back on that, including the guys, and Manchin and some of the other people that are actually reasonable. I mean, I could. What's funny is, like, I was thinking today before we got on, I was thinking, God, wouldn't it be nice to have a Jimmy Carter back in the White House?
Well, the meme I saw was Jimmy Carter in his wheelchair because he's 100 years old now, and I'm surprised he's still alive.
I know, right?
But I saw a picture of him in his wheelchair, and the caption said, "Put me in, coach. I'm ready to go."
I mean, I honestly think he'd do a better job than Biden. But anyway, it's.
I do want to bring up another group of folks that was watching the debate. And this should give us all pause, because it wasn't just an American audience watching the debate. China was watching it, Russia was watching it, Iran was watching it. And if I'm China in particular, I've got to believe that Biden can't win right now. So if I'm going to make a move on Taiwan, it's going to be in the next couple of months. Now, it might not be an invasion, but I could see them trying to implement a blockade of Taiwan.
Right.
And that's going to lead to a shooting war, because the U.S. Navy is going to have to go in there, and then you get Chinese submarines. And how does Russia react with its fleet in Vladivostok? And what does North Korea do? And then Iran is going to try to push forward with developing a nuclear weapon while it still has time, which could push Israel into hitting them, because Israel cannot allow Iran to have a nuclear bomb. If Iran has a nuclear bomb, they're going to try to use it against the Jewish state, and that's just not going to happen.
No, they'll nuke Jerusalem. They will. They'll do it.
Yeah.
And
so,
without
or at least
question.
I don't know if they would nuke Jerusalem. I think they would nuke Tel Aviv, though, without question.
You're probably right. You're probably right. I'm being biblical, but they definitely would. They definitely, yeah, they'd nuke the capital. They
But
would.
how familiar are you with the Samson option? Um,
I'm very familiar. Yep.
yeah. And for those who don't know, in the Bible, Samson was the guy who was in the middle of the temple, and he brought down the temple on himself and all of his enemies
Hmm.
with what he did. I think it's a very dangerous few months between now and November, because China's got to know that 1 or 2 months is not enough time to pull this off. So like between the election in November and the inauguration in January, there's not enough time for them to do it. But if they did something in, say, late August or early September, they got something. They might think they have a chance, and that's why I think the debate also made the world a lot more dangerous, because our enemies are looking at Joe Biden saying, A, he's not all there, so maybe we can take advantage of a weak person, and B, he's going to lose, so we need to do what we can while we're dealing with the weak person and not wait until Trump gets back in.
Yep. No, I hear you. So before we get off, I have a couple of mind games to play with you.
Okay.
And they're political. They're not so Trump gets reelected. What happens to the country after election day?
Violence.
You think there's going to be a lot of looting and fires, and what's the patron saint of all douchebags that they what's his name, the black guy that supposedly suffocated, but he actually didn't suffocate, he died. George Floyd. Do you think it'll be George Floyd level kind of thing, or will it be worse?
Well, I think the question is going to be the scale of the violence and whether or not the right gets involved in it. And here's what I mean by that. There's going to be riots if Trump wins. That's just going to happen.
Sure.
The real question of how dangerous it gets is how the Democrats react, how the elected Democrats react when Trump's elected. What do they do on January 6th of 2025? What kind of objections do they bring in? What kind of stuff do they try to do to prevent Trump from being inaugurated a second time?
Right.
Does Judge Merchan feel so pressured that he feels he has to put Trump in jail in September? For those who don't know, today they pushed back Trump's sentencing to September 18th.
Right.
Which is less than 2
months.
I'm
glad you brought that up. I meant to bring that up. Good job with that. Thank you.
I don't, if you're Merchan now, if you put Trump in, say it's September 18th and Trump is ahead in every swing state and it looks like he's going to win 340 electoral votes, I don't know how to put him in prison without it looking super political. So is he willing to do that? And might that set things off? What happens at the counting of the electoral college votes? Luckily, they passed the new electoral vote count act, which requires, I don't know if it's 20, I think it's maybe 25% of each house has got to object in order for them to go back and debate the electoral college votes. But for those who don't know, if things get that bad, okay, right now, the Republican, all right, quick civics lesson. If nobody gets a majority or they object to electoral college votes enough to throw out some, then the election falls to the House. But it doesn't go by the number of House members. It's voted on by the states. In the House, each state will get one vote. Republicans right now control 26 House delegations. They may control 1 or 2 more. So the House would elect Donald Trump as president. However, the vice presidency is decided in the Senate. Each senator gets a vote. So whoever controls the Senate should be the Republicans this time. But if it's not, could you imagine the chaos, just for laugh's sake, of Donald Trump winning election in the House and Kamala Harris being his vice president, getting elected in the Senate? That would be comical. I don't think that would happen. But I
actually would kind of pay to see that, to be quite honest with you.
Well, I still go back to the real danger is.
Can you imagine those two working together?
No, they wouldn't. It would be a John Adams, Thomas Jefferson situation.
Right. Right.
But again, there's going to be violence if Trump wins. There's going to be riots. The real danger is what the Democrats do with that, because it could get real bad. I am praying that a year from now we are somewhat settled as a country. But it could all come down. I mean, they're going after the Supreme Court now. It's funny. AOC says she's going to file articles of impeachment. Yeah, good luck with that. You're not even going to get a vote on that one, honey. But
Oh, I thought she said she was going to pour some peach schnapps.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
But they're all upset about Supreme Court decisions, which don't mean what the over the top rhetoric they say they mean. They're concerned about, thankfully Chevron deference has gone away,
Right.
which for those who don't know, that was, courts were supposed to bow to unelected bureaucratic administrative agencies.
Unelected bureaucratic and unconstitutional regulations by a non-governmental body that was granted undue power.
Yeah.
And
Basically,
the Supreme Court took that away. They should have. It should
the
never
Supreme
have gone
Court said,
into.
Congress, go do your damn job.
Right.
You're supposed to lay this stuff out. But Congress has kind of been
Go pass laws. That's cool. I mean, we can have regulations and pass laws, but pass laws instead of fucking farming out your job to a bureaucratic. Listen, I had to deal with OSHA because I worked for corporate America for 3 years in a production. As you know, I was in the reserves and I worked for a Fortune 500 company that was in production. OSHA fucking sucks. They're fucking a bunch of dumb, unregulated fucking Nazi bastards.
Well, and they all get off. A lot of them get off on the power of I need to do this because the bureaucracy will.
That's
defend
exactly
itself.
right. I did not deal with a single OSHA person that was a decent human being in my mind. Not a single one. It's like we're Nazis and we can come tell you anything anytime we want to. Fuck you.
Well, it's the very practical definition of power corrupting, because they have all this power and they aren't accountable.
Right.
But now they have to be.
Absolutely, 100%.
And it did allow Congress to kind of shirk its responsibilities. And now they can't. So that's a good thing. But, the Democrats are talking about the Supreme Court. It'll be very interesting. First of all, if Trump gets reelected, he's going to get 2 more judges on the Supreme Court. And I already know who they are.
Ted Cruz? Ted Cruz?
Well,
Ted Cruz?
I don't know who's being nominated.
Ted Cruz?
I know who's going to be replaced. I know probably Clarence Thomas will retire.
Sure.
And probably Samuel Alito will retire.
And Clarence Thomas, I'm just going to say this. I need to say this. The greatest Supreme Court justice maybe in history.
He's up there, and it'd be tough to top Antonin Scalia.
I get that, but I have nothing but a heartbeat for me some Clarence Thomas. He's been amazing. He's been amazing, and he's a credit. He's a credit. He's a credit to every piece of America and everything that he was meant to do, and all of it. I adore the man. I adore the man. He's one of my heroes. He's one of my heroes. He's right up there with Reagan to me. I mean, he's in that esteem to me as great American. He's been steadfast. He's been loyal to the Constitution, and we're getting off topic, but that's okay. Russ, I think this Supreme Court that is largely due. Absolutely. I mean, you got Clarence Thomas and all that, but largely due to Donald Trump, is the most constitutionally accurate Supreme Court in history.
Yeah.
In my lifetime. I don't
agree.
I'm not going to go back and go, oh, hey, back in 1880. But in my lifetime, this has been the most constitutionally accurate Supreme Court it's astonishingly, and I love that the left is like melting down over every decision that they make that's actually completely consistent with the Constitution, which is their job. It's not to make you feel good. It's to go, no, this is the Constitution. This is us. And we're going to make decisions. And when I hear a 6-3 decision, I go, fucking those 3 people fucking don't understand what the Constitution is, and you know who they always are. It's Sotomayor and that Ketanji Brown Jackson and all that kind of thing. And it's like, so you never read the Constitution apparently, but you got in the Supreme Court. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Well, like I said, I think he'll replace Clarence Thomas. I think Thomas will retire. Samuel Alito is 74 years old. Samuel Alito will probably retire rather than risk being replaced by a Democrat. So Trump will have appointed 5 justices without question to the Supreme Court. Then the question comes down to Sonia Sotomayor, who is 70 years old. She won't retire willingly, but she also hasn't been in the greatest of health either.
Right.
And I'm not wishing anything bad on her. God, no. I don't wish that.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
People, I mean, Democrats have been hounding her to retire while Joe Biden was president, so that Biden, they don't get the Ruth Bader Ginsburg situation. But if Trump wins, what happens if something does happen, God forbid, to Sonia Sotomayor? You could have Trump having appointed 2/3 of the court.
Yeah. I mean, they already have a super majority right now.
Yeah.
They do. And so any decision that's coming down, although I got a little problem with Kavanaugh, and I got a little problem with who's the head right
Roberts.
now? Yeah, I got a little problem with Roberts. I think Roberts is a little soft.
I think Roberts is a little bit of a pansy, and he goes which way the wind blows. Right now, it's blowing conservative.
Right. But it's and we should never even have this conversation, to be quite honest.
No, this is not the power that was meant for the Supreme Court. But to be fair, the left set this up. So I'm not going to be the only one playing in that sandbox. If the left set the rules, then you know what? We're going to play by them, and you're going to learn that either you need to pare back the power for everybody, or we're going to exercise it too.
Well, and here's one of the things I want to get across to our listeners and stuff like that, why you need to go vote. Because if the Democrats, for some ungodly reason, actually get the Senate and the House, they're going to pack the court. And they're going to do it. They're going to pass legislation that will allow them to pack the court. And what that means, folks, is that after how many since the 1930s, is that right? That we've had the same.
1869.
Oh, was that recently that they expanded?
1869 was the last time they expanded.
Oh, I mean that I didn't mean recently. I mean that long ago. I thought it was the 1930s for some reason.
No. That's when FDR tried to pack the court.
Gotcha. No, I'm tracking with what you're saying now. It just popped in my head. So they can increase the number. I mean, there's nothing that says that the Congress and the Senate can't increase the number of Supreme Court judges. There's nothing in the Constitution that forbids that. So what they could do under a Democratic president and all that is say, okay, we're going to increase it to 13. And
that's
so
then
they'll nominate, what's that? 4 new left-leaning judges and stuff like that. That could actually happen. That could happen. Nobody in their right mind wants that to happen. The way the system should be for always and forever, in my mind. And that's not just because, we've got a conservative-leaning Supreme Court. It's because, are you fucking out of your mind? The Supreme Court should not use fiat. Okay.
Yeah, well.
They shouldn't legislate from the bench, and that's what left-leaning people want them to do, is legislate from the bench. And that's the danger of this, is they could pack the court, go left, and say, fuck, we're gonna I mean, and there's nothing to stop them from doing that. Well, and I'll end on this and let you talk, Russ. I know you have opinions on this. Is like, well, there's only one president I know in modern history that's suborned the power of the Supreme Court and gone against it on multitudes of occasions, and that's Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Yep.
Joe Biden has no respect for the Supreme Court.
Well, so first of all, they have to try to legislate from the bench because they can't get this stuff passed in Congress. Congress people like their jobs too much to go too super crazy with it. They want to expand it to 13. Because they say, well, we'll expand it to cover the total number of circuits in the United States. It's just a coincidence that would give the left a 7-6 advantage on the court. And I have tried to warn my more liberal friends, and for some reason they think we're bluffing on this. But I promise, you expand the court by 4, the next time Republicans control Congress and the presidency, they'll expand it by 40. Okay, like you want to do this game, we can do it. We can turn it into the size of the Russian Duma. Okay, we can turn it into a super legislature. If you're intent on doing this, we'll go nuclear bomb option on this.
Right.
And we'll put so many on there, you'll never get it done again. Like I said, the court was never meant to have this kind of power. We need to keep it at 9. What would help is if we actually had a constitutional amendment that put it at 9. Now, in fairness, what I would prefer, just from a strictly idealistic standpoint, I would like to see Supreme Court justices limited to a 20 or 25-year term. That still gives enough, and without possibility of reappointment, I think that gives enough, enough insulation to, actually make, decisions with your conscience. But it doesn't put them on there for the rest of their lives where they're completely, where nobody can make any changes at all. And there really aren't that many Supreme Court judges that go 25 years, 20 to 25 years. Clarence Thomas is one of the exceptions.
Right.
So is Antonin Scalia.
Right.
But Ruth Bader Ginsburg went, I want to say 20 or 22. I can't remember when she was appointed, but she was a Clinton appointee. David Souter went about, I want to say 20 years roughly. I think he was replaced by either Kagan or Sotomayor under Barack Obama.
Sotomayor, replaced by Sotomayor, yep.
But he was appointed by the first Bush. So he went not quite 20 years, but almost.
Yeah.
If Alito retires during a second Trump term, he will have gone almost 20 years because I think he was appointed in 2007.
I think that's right.
The only reason
I used to know my Supreme Court history much better. I actually have been kind of a weird junkie about Supreme Court history because it's so unique in any government system in the world. How we do this in this country, it's very unique.
The reason I think I remember was 2007 was I was at the Command General Staff College and Bush had tried to appoint Harriet Miers, and her nomination imploded before it ever got to the Senate.
Right. I totally remember that. I totally remember that.
Yeah, he went because it was when Sandra Day O'Connor retired.
Right.
And she went 23 years on the court.
I think she went a little longer than that.
When was she appointed? Was it 82 or 83?
It was right after Reagan got elected. So I think you might be right. But right after Reagan got elected.
It put in like a 20 or 25 year.
That was a big deal. That was a big deal because the president appointed a woman, and all that kind of thing. And now it's just like what's her fucking?
That's all we appoint.
No, it's like what's her fucking face got appointed who has absolutely no business being a Supreme Court justice.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yes, God no, she has no business. It's a DEI hire. It's a DEI hire. I'm sorry. Well, I said it. I know you're not comfortable with me going along the race.
I actually agree with you here because the reason that she got appointed was Joe Biden promised James Clyburn he would appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court if Clyburn backed him to the South Carolina primary.
Yeah, I mean she was a terrible appointee, but based on her voting and stuff like that. To the Republicans' credit, I remember Ted Cruz grilling her and stuff like that. And he got called a racist, which is funny because he's Cuban. And talking about some of her decisions, like you never would have talked to anybody else like that. And he's like, no, Ted Cruz is a badass. And
after what they did to Kavanaugh, the rules are done.
Right. And he was very polite and he was very professional, but he called into question a lot of her rulings and stuff like that. And I remember that. It's like, oh, you hate black women. And it's like, he's a Cuban American. Are you fucking out of your goddamn mind?
Well, the sting went out of that charge about 10, 15 years ago. They've beaten that one to death. No one pays attention to that anymore.
I don't, and you and I are the same in this regard. I don't give a shit what you look like. I don't give a shit. I want you to be competent. That's it. And we keep going back and forth on this. To bring this all the way back around. I wish it wasn't fucking Trump that was running for president.
I wish the same, but you know what? I'd like to have 10 inches and a career as a porn star. Sometimes our dreams don't come true.
Right. I'd like to add 3 inches to my dick and have my entire brain back from all those brain injuries, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. I try to avoid my night medications before I get on the podcast, and when I don't, I sound like
why we didn't podcast yesterday.
That's right. No, I get it, and it's just no, it just irritates me that we've gotten to this point in this country. Ketanji Brown Jackson, I think is a terrible Supreme Court justice. I thought she was a terrible choice. I think it was all DEI. And
In fairness, though, I don't know anyone that Joe Biden would have appointed that would have been any better. Not that he could have, that he would have, given his record and everything. I mean, he was going to appoint someone who was a radical leftist, one way or the other.
So let me put it to you this way: Sandra Day O'Connor, a very well respected, God rest in peace, great American. I don't know that she was that political, because if you look at her voting record, she voted from both sides of the aisle. She really did. She really did.
Different time, though.
She interpreted the Constitution. She interpreted the Constitution to the best of her ability and said she was sometimes on the dissent. She was sometimes on the affirmative. And she was I mean, if I rank Supreme Court justices, she's up there. She's absolutely up there.
Yeah, but
I mean, she voted with her conscience. She voted with what she thought the Constitution said that she should vote with. And that's all I ask from anybody, is just do what's right. All right. So you and I are we've got this little filthy deal going on right now, being, conservative and being right of center, that we're forced to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We don't like it. We're not like, woohoo, I'm voting for Donald Trump. Although there is a part of me that goes, no, I kind of like it, because it's Schadenfreude, and I want all these people
just to watch the left shit themselves.
Yes, I just want everybody to fuck off, because of all this bullshit. Like I said, I put a post on Facebook recently. The left are not the good people. You're not good people. You're just not. There's nothing about your propaganda or your way of thinking or any of those things that you use to excuse your politics that makes any sense. You're not good people. You hate Christians. You hate white people. You murder babies. You want to mutilate children. I mean, I could go on and fucking on and on and on.
Right now,
you want taxpayers
is most prevalent on the left.
Right. I mean, as a taxpayer, I shouldn't have to pay for people, camping and shitting in the street. And that's another thing. Let's do this real quick before we get off. That Supreme Court ruling about everybody's like, oh, you can't sleep if you're homeless. That is not what the ruling is, you fucking idiots. It's about people camping in public spaces. That's what it's about. So God forbid taxpayers like Russ and I and the rest of you folks listening to this podcast should have to fucking foot the bill for look, oh, you want to throw them all in jail? Well, at least in jail, they would have a bed, and they'd have 3 meals a day, and they'd have clothes and a shower. I mean, no, I don't want to do that, but that's a better alternative than, say, letting them shit up the sidewalk that taxpayers want to go take their, or their, a mom and dad want to take their kids to the park and go on the swings, but they can't because there's a bunch of homeless people out there with hypodermic needles shitting it up. It doesn't make them bad people. I get that 99.9% of all of these homeless people have mental health and addiction issues and all that. Okay, then address that. And it's really easy to address. You've got a choice. You can go into a shelter. That's a sober housing shelter, or you can go to jail. But you're not gonna be allowed to camp here.
Yeah.
You're not gonna.
Yeah, watching the meltdown over the
How is that
homeless
not
decision-
compassionate? How's that not compassionate?
Yeah, watching the meltdown over the homeless decision was also hysterical to watch. Because you're criminalizing homelessness. No, we're saying, like you said, you can't camp on public streets. You can't shit on public streets. If the local government wants to let you do that, fine. Go to San Francisco and do that to your heart's delight. But cities are allowed to remove you. And what most cities are looking for when it comes to homelessness, in fairness, most of them are not looking to solve the problem. They're looking to displace the problem. They're looking for it to go somewhere besides their city. And you know what? There's plenty of cities in California that y'all want to say your sanctuary stuff. It's hysterical. Your sanctuary on everything like illegal immigration until someone holds your feet to the fire and says, okay, well, here you go. Here's 30,000 illegal immigrants. Oh my God, I can't deal with this. No, but Texas can with 5 million at the border. No, If you wanted to say that you're a homeless sanctuary, then deal with all the influx of homeless. Let us know how it works out for you.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple, and it's not discompassionate to show tough love. I mean,
There's a difference between love and between nice and love.
Yeah, there is. And nice often is just a way of being passively aggressively a pussy.
Yep.
And so I got I don't know if you've heard, but I got this dog.
Oh yeah.
Her name's Lucille, Lucifer. I am not easy on her because if I was, then I would have a house full of poop and piss, and she would take advantage of that. But I don't allow that. Okay. Does that mean I don't love Lucifer? I actually really, really love my dog a lot. And I want her to be happy, and I want us to bond and have a good relationship. I cannot have a good relationship. We recently got we didn't get banned. That's not the right word, but last time we were over at Brandy, she still had a couple of accidents. And that's like, okay, no, I'm not going to bring her over anymore. I'm going to get her, if I come over again, I'm going to get her boarded, because that's not fair to you to expect that you deal with that. That's not fair. That's not fair. It's your house. Not fair. And so Lucifer and I mean, she's down in a crate right now, and I need to go get her pretty quick. I know we're almost done, but she's growing up. She's becoming a good girl, but I'm really kind of hard on her. I'm hard on her. And it's not because I don't love her. Yeah. It's because I do love her. Well, and look, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, look, not nice parents let their kids have ice cream whenever they want. Loving parents understand they don't need fat children.
Right.
Nice city officials might let the homeless shit everywhere, but loving government officials say you got to get into rehab.
You go into rehab. You go into a shelter.
You have to take your mental health medication.
Right. Right. We're going to assign somebody that monitors you, and we're going to do blood tests. I mean, it is what it is. I get it, but there's nothing loving about, hey, that I got chewed up on Instagram because this guy goes out and like, I'm going to buy like a bunch of tents and fucking pillows and stuff for homeless people and hand them out, and sandwiches and stuff like that. And I'm like, you're just doing this to make money. You're a fucking piece of shit, actually. If you were really loving, then you would drive them to the nearest shelter, the nearest sober house or something like that, and check them in. That's what you would do. But you're getting money, Bill. And I had like 50 people. Oh, fuck you! You're an asshole. You're Nazi. Fuck. I'm just like, nope. I'm 100% right about this. I know something about this. And no, I would subscribe to a channel where a guy goes around and goes, hey, hop in. I'll take you to his shelter, and I'll check you in, and I'll be your sponsor. I would 100% subscribe to something like that. That's somebody who actually cares. Not like, oh, look at me. I'm using all this money I make from YouTube to buy tents and sleeping bags and sandwiches. Fuck you, dude. And by the way, if you're that guy, if you're Christ-like like that, you wouldn't put it on YouTube.
No, that's one of the things, Christ, can't remember the gospel. I believe it's in Matthew. No, or is it in Luke?
I got literally like 3 Bibles right here. So if you want me to look it up,
you don't brag about your charitable actions.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's very true. So anyway, I know, I've kept you on for a long time, Russ. I'm sorry, we got a little off topic, but that's
okay. When we talk about we're going to make it abbreviated, I kind of know that's not going to happen.
Well, like, you're literally like one of my 2 friends ever in the world. So it's like, I kind of drag it out going, don't leave me, Russ. No, I'm totally.
Yeah, real quick, Coop. It's Matthew 6:1. Be careful that you don't do your charitable giving before men to be seen by them, or else you have no reward from your Father who is in heaven.
I did not remember that scripture, and I'm a scripture junkie, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think I'll share that on Salvation Warriors.
Please do.
I think that's a good one, and I'll give you credit for bringing that back into my vision. But anyway, so I think we had a good discussion. Sorry, folks, that we don't have any videos or any funny stuff. Next time, after the 4th of July, we'll get back together and we'll do a more fun compilation. But I thought it was really important, Russ, that we got together and talked about the aftermath of the debate and what's going on with the current presidency race. Because this might be exaggerating a little bit, but I think this might be the most important presidency in history of my life.
I'd say of my life, the only one that comes close, in my opinion, is 1980. And this might be more consequential. 80 because of some of the stuff that was going on, but those are the two. This
Yeah, I
one
hear
and
ya.
1980 are probably the two most important in my lifetime.
I hear you. I hear you. Getting Reagan in and him turning the country around was probably the best thing that happened in that since World War II.
Yeah.
In that century. I mean, that consequential, getting the economy and all that, and Reagan. Like I said, one of my fun spots in my life is that I haven't talked to him in years, but I'm quasi friends with his adopted son, Michael Reagan.
Yeah.
And we had a little bit of a relationship, and that was really fun. And me pulling my wallet out and showing him the picture of the president, and back when you had wallets that had the photos.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, I've been carrying this around since I was 14. And he was just like, are you kidding me? And I go, no, I give you my word. And he just thought that was awesome. He meant that much to me, and he did save this country. He did.
He did. Yeah.
He saved the soul of this country, and we're in a very, very precarious place right now, my friend. I think.
I agree. On several levels, from an economic standpoint, from a national security standpoint, and just from a political division standpoint. That's where a lot of the uncertainty comes in. Now, don't get me wrong, there are other more consequential elections throughout history. When we look at our lifetime, it's probably those two. Throughout history, to me, the most consequential was probably 1860. But you had several in a row there. I mean, 1844, when you got Polk in and the Mexican-American War, was very consequential. 1860, 1876, which Rutherford B. Hayes and the end of Reconstruction was very consequential. You know, the transition from the Federalists to the Democratic Republicans in 1800 between Jefferson and Adams was very consequential. But for us, for our narrow bandwidth, our 50-ish years,
our generation, our generation,
1980 and this election are the two big ones. Because there weren't really that many very consequential elections since World War II up until then.
Not really. And I thought about that a lot before we got on today. I was thinking about this epoch, and epoch, of history, and I thought this is maybe the most consequential election of our lifetime. Reagan winning in 1980, and you know, everybody's like, oh, the 1980s were awesome, and you know, and then Reagan put all that money into defense, and we were going to defeat the Soviets. And because if he hadn't come into office, I think we'd all be speaking Russian, to be quite honest with you.
Well, I don't know if we go that far, but I do think the Soviets.
I know that's an exaggeration. That's an exaggeration.
Yeah, but the Iron Curtain would still be up. It would have taken the Soviet Union another several decades, if ever, to fall. Because I remember my parents talking about, you know, in the early 80s, talking about you'll never see the end of the Berlin Wall, you'll never see the end of the Soviet Union. This is going to happen for the rest of our lives. And Reagan showed that not to be true.
Yep. No, he looked him straight in the fucking face and said, "Move, bitch. I dare you." And of course he would have said it a lot more eloquently than me. He'd have been
yeah, he would have done that. He had quite a turn of phrase.
He'd have been like, "All right, if you want to look at me, you better not blink."
Well,
he was the man.
Radio quip when he thought he wasn't going out over the air. Did you ever hear about that one?
Yes.
When he said, I've signed legislation outlawing the Soviet Union. The bombing begins in 5 minutes just to test the mic. I mean, that was quintessential Reagan.
No,
And it freaked out both the left and the Soviets.
that man had balls of fucking steel, man. And I know we need to get off, but I remember when we were teaching together, and you remember when they had the funeral.
Yes.
And they broadcast it live. And for some reason I thought it'd be a good idea to like have a barbecue and make a lot of food and stuff like that. Myself and the ex, you remember her, of course. And so we're watching this, and then when they started descending his coffin down into the hole, she climbed on it. Nancy Reagan climbed on it. And I'm like, okay, I thought this would be a good idea to make food. I am
probably not.
I am bawling like a goddamn baby. and watching Nancy Reagan watch her husband go off into the ether, and she loved him so much. And it was just it was such a moment, and I'm sitting there like probably like with a taco in my mouth or something like that. And I'm just like, yeah. I remember that. I remember we were teaching together at Davis when he passed. And I just remember that, and watching that kind of devotion and love that she had for that man. And
it was one of the first. It was also, I got to see the uglier side of people who shit on him when he died. Because I don't know that we have had a Democrat president die in my lifetime that I can remember.
No, I can't think of.
But we've had
Jimmy Carter's still fucking alive. Jimmy Carter's still fucking alive.
We've had a couple of Republicans, and we've seen the knives come out for them as they've passed on. So it'll be
it's the party of love and inclusion. It really is.
As long as
really
you believe in their version of it.
Really wonderful people. They're all such wonderful people. They care so much about the taxpayers and people like you and me and the military and, heterosexuals and all that kind of thing.
They care so much about the military, they can't remember when the last time a soldier died on their watch.
Right. All right, brother. We'll sign off. I'm going to get this. I still have to do the video from the last one we did, because I went off grid this weekend, and I haven't done it. So anyway, good catching up with you. I think we fulfilled our obligation. To let everybody know, we have a 4th of July video coming out on YouTube here in a couple of days. It's nothing new, but it's worth a watch. It's got some fireworks. It's got some I don't know if you remember, like, when all those did you watch it? No, I'm not.
I think I did, but I can't remember it.
Yeah, it's got all the famous actors who the Declaration of Independence, like Michael Douglas and all that kind of thing. Yeah, so it's actually pretty cool. I actually hope you guys listen to it and watch it, and upvote us, subscribe, do us a dirty deed. If you don't want to give us any money, then at least say, "Hey, love you guys," on a maybe a review. That'd be kind of cool.
Like any hooker, we'd love it if you loved us for money.
All right, buddy. Good seeing you, man. We'll hook up next week after the 4th. And hey, happy 4th of July to you, my friend, and to your lovely family. And God bless America.
Happy Independence Day. God bless America.
Well, hey, everybody. This is Coop, the handsome and debonair one of the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast. Not to mention I'm the only one that's an actual bastard. Google that shit. Don't, actually. Hey, I'm here to do a shameless plug for our merchandise. You can find us at twogrumpybastardsmerchandise.com. We got a whole bunch of new merchandise in. I think you'll like some of the new choices. There's some pro-Second Amendment. There's some anti-Washington State Governor stuff on there. I think you'll really appreciate it. New stuff coming all the time. I have 2 great designs in the works, so please, to support this podcast, that's one of the easiest ways to do it. We're also on Etsy. Yeah, I know, Etsy. You can find our products on eBay as well. Storm King Mercantile is the name of the store there that fronts us. And there's many, many other ways to support this podcast, of course. We have a Patreon page, same thing, Two Grumpy Bastards. We certainly would appreciate you following us on Instagram. Most of you probably know we have a Facebook page, Two Grumpy Bastards Podcast. We have a lot of fun over there, a lot of frivolity, a lot of memes, and a lot of hard-hitting news, believe it or not. A lot of great people in that group. Also, all of the social media outlets, including now on TikTok. You can find us there. And one of the things that I really wanted to tell you is if you have any feedback for Russ, especially because he kind of sucks, feel free to email us at twogrumpybastards@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of us, or you can always leave us a comment or an IM on, or DM, I should say. See, I'm so savvy. I'm so savvy. On our Facebook page. So we really appreciate you listening or watching us over there on YouTube as well. And we hope you do both, because Russ is something to look at. I said something. I didn't say something really great to look at. Anyway, thanks for listening. This is your intrepid, amazing, and grateful host of the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast, Coop. Remember, keep your focus and stay wokeless.